Hello and welcome back. Today's show we're talking about hobbies. Hobbies are very important to all of us. I mean, all of us should have some type of hobby because after all, most of us work, right? I know I work. And then so a hobby is something that you do extra, and most of the time it's for yourself. You don't get any pay for it. It should be enjoyment. It should bring you some type of pleasure. So it's an activity that you do for fun, that you do for pleasure, that you do for enjoyment, and it's for you and for you only. Now, if some other people receive some of the joy or pleasure from your hobby through you, then that's killing two birds with one stone. That's good too. But we got to keep in mind that hobbies are for you. Now, going back to this, I want to say this. We've all heard people say that different people need a hobby, or maybe you've been told that yourself. I remember this friend of mine. He was married. Married probably about 4 years, and his wife was, she loved him and he loved her. I would say they had a very good marriage, very good. Yeah, it was a good marriage, so nothing was wrong with the marriage there, except that she wanted to be around him all the time. And he, of course, he had his little moments where he would, maybe go out with the guys and play basketball or, hang out in the man cave, that type of thing. But she didn't want him to have any time away from her. She was just clingy and wanted him all the time. Now, she loved him. She was not jealous, nothing like that. She just needed to have some time for her. And he would tell her all the time, or he would tell me, he says, you know what? She just needs a hobby. She needs something other than me. And I would joke with him and I'd say, you know what? She does have a hobby, you. And he says, no, on a serious note, she needs something to do when she's not working because I need my time and she's actually just kind of suffocating me and it's kind of, wearing me down in a way. And of course, a lot of us might just kind of, sometimes we're in other people's business all the time. We're doing, stuff is not even part of our life situation, and we're in it. We have our noses in places that it shouldn't be. And sometimes if you think you're that third wheel in a couple, and it could be because you need a hobby. You need something to do with your time, okay? So I'm going to tell you, once you get a hobby, you're just going to feel fulfilled. You're going to feel happy. Now, when I was a little girl, not a little girl, I think a teenager, and of course this started when I was young, I would always ride horses. I would say horseback riding was my hobby. And we're going to talk about the different steps and how you gain a hobby, how if you're kind of confused about, well, I do have some time on my hands. What can I do? So we'll discuss on how you can select a hobby, and of course, the different things that you need to look out for once you decide what type of hobby that you're going to have. Because hobbies are something that all of us need. They're very, very important, okay? First of all, hobbies can be an outlet. As I said, this lady, my best friend's, not best friend, but one of my close friends' wife, she needed an outlet because he already had an outlet. He was going to the gym and he was, like I said, hanging with his male buddies. So he had an outlet, but she needed an outlet because she was just working and she was just coming home and she was just, like I said, just suffocating him. But she needed something for herself. And so hobbies can be an outlet for us. Now, another thing, when you have an outlet, what it does is, I talk about this on a lot of times on my shows. It reduces stress. Having something that you can do from the regular norm, the norm of your day, or week, it can help reduce stress. And then the other thing that you can do, what hobbies do, is that it helps you be a better person because now you can be around other people and you feel a little bit confident. You feel like you have something that's yours, something that you can bring to the table because that's what it's all about. Have you ever been sitting with a group of people? Let's say you go out with some of your friends and they're telling you about their travels and they're telling you about different things that they're doing. What they did maybe last night, they might have gone dancing and you didn't do anything because you spent the evening watching television and eating potato chips or whatever you do. That's not really a hobby if you think it is. I remember, and the reason I'm saying it like that is I remember one of my other friends, I have several friends, she was telling me that watching television really was a hobby, and it's not. And she was trying to tell me that it was because when she watches it, she knows all the actors, she knows all the movies that the actors played on. She even knew the directors. She knew a whole lot of things about movies and stuff. She can tell you stuff about, I mean, these older actors that probably have died 30 years or 40 years ago. She knew all about them. So she said that that was her hobby, watching television. And I was like, I don't think so. So I would have to say, some of you may get upset with me. Watching television is not a hobby. You've got to get up and do some things so that when, as I was saying, when you're meeting with a group of friends or maybe just with your children, you have something other to talk about, something to bring to the table to contribute. Because after all, I do believe, Mary J. believes, that when you're talking to people, you need to share something with them. When they leave your presence, they should have gained some type of knowledge. They should benefit from being around you. So if you're not contributing something new, something exciting, just something with some substance to people, something profound, then that's not good. And so these hobbies can help expose you to something different that maybe you can contribute something. For instance, I was telling you when I was young, I used to ride horses as a hobby. So that was a big conversation when I met my current husband at the time, when I was talking to him and telling him that I was riding horses, or I invited him out to the farm to ride horses. Sometimes we would go to the farm store to pick up supplies. That was really interesting, and he watched in amazement. He was like, oh, wow, so why are you going to get that brush? And I was like, I'm getting this brush to do this to the horse's mane and that type of thing, and I need to get this to put on the horse's hoofs. And it was just really fascinating, and I felt really, really, like, I'm pretty smart here. He's actually listening to me. And then he would share what type of hobby he would do. He would play tennis, so, we would talk about tennis, all about, the different types of equipments and shoes and all that, the different rackets. We would go shopping for different rackets and why one racket was better than the other. And so when I left that conversation, when I left him that evening, that conversation, him sharing with me things that he was doing, I was a little bit smarter, I thought, because he had shared with me about the different types of rackets. And now I knew when I saw them in the store, which one was better than the other one in his eyes. So he was contributing something to my growth. So hobbies are good in that sense. Now, hobbies, as I said, they create an outlet for you. They help relieve stress, and the good thing about it is you can meet new people through your hobbies. We all need to meet new people because it's just, as I said, we want to share our beliefs, our ideas. We want to share what we have inside with other people. So, and then other people bring things to you. Sometimes if we're just around the same people day in and day out, then you're not really growing. You can grow a little bit, but I think new people is good because they're bringing new ideas to you. And that's what it's all about, just sharing new ideas and learning something new. So that's very good. So you meet new people because some of us are kind of like just, I hate to say it, but you're just kind of stuck in a rut. You're not really going anywhere. You're not meeting any people, new people. You're in that same situation, same little group of friends. And it's like you're sitting on the porch and it's nothing new. But if you, let's say you go out and you decide you want to go skating. And that's a new thing that I've started. My daughters had some skates in the garage and they were just sitting up there getting dusty. I don't know how to skate. But I pulled them out and I got the little, put my helmet on and my safety gear and I got a little stick. So that was, not fall. I'm not advising you to do this, but this is what I did. And I just I took them inside and I kind of skated on the carpet. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the skating rink. And I know I'll meet new people there. I just kind of feel like it. When you try something new, you will meet new people. Even with me doing this talk show, I've met new people through just being here, and this is a sort of hobby too. And with these new people, I'm growing because they're showing me new things, so I'm growing as a person. Now, and the other thing is you have new adventures when you try a hobby. You'll have new adventures in your life, so it's not the same old thing, and that's what we need to get out of. So new adventures could be let's say you take on fishing. you can decide if you want to fish in the ponds, the local ponds, or you want to go deep sea fishing. And of course, if you're going deep sea fishing, that would be an adventure. Then you're out on the ocean. Then you're learning also about these gigantic fish in the ocean. And you may see dolphins jumping in the water. I don't know, it's a new adventure. Rent the boat or the ship, the person takes you out to go deep sea fishing. That would be really interesting. So new adventures. So having a hobby, I mean, it's like a no-brainer. It would just be so interesting to you. And I'm just encouraging you to go out and get a hobby, okay? It's so good. Now, when you're trying to choose a hobby, because some of you are thinking, well, and that's why I want to help you. You could be thinking, well, what can I do? You know, it's just, I mean, surprisingly, so many people just don't know what to do. They just sit at home, you know, and that's okay too, I guess. And that's where we're going to start. If you're sitting home and you don't have, I sound like one of those commercials, you know, get off the couch and do something. But basically, yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to get off the couch. You want to do something different with your life. And if it means a hobby, bring some excitement. It's not the same. We don't need to just have the simple 9 to 5 every day. 9 to 5, you get up, you go to work. You get off and then you come home. You have dinner, you come home, you sit down, you watch television, prepare for bed, and then next day, same thing. The alarm clock goes off, you prepare for work, then you're off again. Same little cycle. No, you don't want that. Your life is very special. I mean, we've talked about how special you are, that God created you. And then I'm sure He wants a little bit more than you just going to work. You need something for you, and a hobby would be it. Now you may ask, you'll say, well, Mary J., I'm having a problem finding what type of hobbies. Now you're talking about these hobbies. I mean, how can I find a hobby? Now think about something that you liked in the past. You can search way, way back. Now I just told you in talking that I used to ride a horse. And that was only because I grew up on a farm. And I was just exposed to horseback riding. So I loved it. Out of all the things that, you know, we could do out there. And we would even, you know, there were so many different things that we would do on a farm. But I just kind of fell in love with the horseback riding. So I wanted to invest in that. So I did. So you would want to just think back in the past. What are some of the things you like? When you went to your grandmother's house and she was baking cookies, were you interested in that? Did you find yourself asking? I need you to really think back. Were you interested in the ingredients that she was doing, you know, putting into her recipes? Did you really enjoy helping her? Of course, you probably loved being around her, but did you really enjoy cooking? Did you love the finished product? Or if you took a class in school, if you took shop class, I know back when I was in school, and I don't think they really have this too much in some of the classes, we had a shop class where we would build things, woodworking with these, you know, tools and type thing. I enjoyed it because I built I think I built a birdhouse, and also I had a letter holder. I did pretty good in that wood making class. So if you took some type of class in school like that, are you interested in that? And then that could grow into a hobby because you can go out to, there's different types of organizations that offer these things. And then you don't really have to buy all these tools. You can join an organization that can help you. So it would be good. So think about in your past. Think about some of those things that you did. Also, when I was in high school, we had a sewing class. And I loved that sewing class. And we only sewed, I think, one little square hanky. And that wasn't enough for me. So my sister was sewing too. So I asked her, I was like, hey, Carolyn, can you teach me how to sew? And she said, yes. So we went on and she taught me, and I sewed my first pair of little shorts. And it had elastic in the waist, and they were short, and we did a hem on the sewing machine. It was so easy and so simple, and it just grew into a passion from then. I mean, I started sewing. I sewed all of my outfits in college. And then we need to talk about that too, is when you start a hobby, you need to make sure it doesn't consume you and taken away, because remember what I said, you still want to have your 9 to 5, but you don't want to just be so evolved in this hobby going from A to Z in it, just totally consumed that it takes control of you. And that's what it did with sewing, because I was like so excited, ready to see that finished product. it just, when I should have been studying or just preparing for the class the next day, I found myself up late at night sewing. So you just kind of want to proceed with caution, okay? Hobbies are fun, and so you have to kind of control yourself when you find that good one. And sewing, I mean, wow. I even sewed some outfits for some other people. So we've got this. When you're looking for a hobby, you might want to look in your past. What are some of those things that you liked in the past to do? If your mother was gardening, and you liked, to work with her outside in the dirt and plant plants, and every time you go to some of the hardware stores and you see the plants and they catch your attention, that could be a hobby for you. I mean, that's a skill, learning the different type of plants and how to do that, getting the pots and the soil together. That is a hobby. Not everyone can do that. Promise me, I've seen people that say, I don't have a green thumb. Everything around me dies. But then you meet another person and they have greenery all around them. That's a hobby for them. That's their love. They're putting this interest in that. And so, as I said, I encourage you to think back. What did you enjoy? Did you enjoy watching your dad work on cars? I've got a brother. I was just talking to him just this past weekend, and I asked him what he was doing. He told me he was repairing this. He was spending time in his shop, and he was repairing this, I think he said 1965 Impala. And he was so excited. And I was like, oh, tell me something about it. I said, wow, that's amazing. You can do that. He told me he was rebuilding the engine. And I was like, wow, you can do that? And he was like, yeah. He said, when Dad was showing me, I was paying attention. And I was like, when Dad was showing me, I didn't pay attention because I wasn't interested in it. I wasn't interested in being oily and lifting up boats and all that kind of stuff. But my brother did, and he's working with cars right now. He knows how to do everything. And I was like, oh, I thought you just could change oil and that was it. He was like, no, I can do so much more than that. And he was enjoying it. It was a Saturday evening when I was out shopping doing something else that I enjoy. He was working in his shop, so that was his hobby on his leisure time because he wasn't working. He was enjoying that. So that's what we need to do. So my first thing is to you is that when you're trying to find your hobby, think back in your past. If you can't think of what you want to do, think of in your past. What are some things that you enjoyed doing? Now, the other thing is you want to do, if you still can't decide, they've got all of these neat hobby stores around town. You can walk through these hobby stores from the front door to the end, walk all the way around, go down every aisle. They've got, stuff on woodworking, glass making. There's all kind of stuff. I can't even tell you all these things. I'm just amazed when I go into some of these stores. They're very big. And I'm like, wow, people do that? And I never thought of that. Knitting, needlecraft, all kind of things. And so if you are walking through one of these craft stores or even a sports store and you see something just really strikes your attention and you're really interested in it, that may be something that you want to pursue. That could be your hobby, right? Okay, yeah. So you want to do that. And then once you decide what your hobby is, you need to start small. Now, so this is a cute story about how I started small. I told you that when I was a teenager, well, from little kid on up, I rode horses. Horseback riding was my joy, was my hobby. And when I would go to my grandfather's farm, there were horses, but they always belonged to someone else other than me. I would always have to ask someone, Granddad, can I ride your horse? He might say yes, he may say no, she's tired, I had her out today, don't do that. Or I asked my uncle, can I ride his horse? And he'll say no. And so I kind of got tired of, the negativity. So I decided to go purchase my own horse. And this is what I'm saying. You need to start small, but you need to start smart, okay? So I went and I checked the paper, checked the ads for horses for sale. And I found one for $200. That was in my budget. But the horse was one I shouldn't have gotten. $200. And because I recall now, when I went to pick the horse up, my grandfather and my uncle, they went with me, and they were like, they didn't really want to tell me not to get the horse because I was so excited. I was going to purchase my first horse, and even the lady that was selling me the horse, she had a broken arm. I remember her arm being in a sling, and she was saying, she told me, she says, she's a good horse, she just needs some work. And of course, she needed a lot of work. My horse's name was Star, and she didn't like for me to ride her. And of course, she would throw me, off every now and then. And then she would throw me a lot. Sometimes it would hurt. And of course, my granddad would always say, get back on the horse, because he would always say, if you let her think that she's the boss because she threw you, you won't be able to ride her ever again. And of course, I, would get back on her. But if I had been smart, then I shouldn't have bought that horse, right? I mean, seeing that the seller had a broken arm, the horse was, any horse person would tell you today, don't buy a horse for $200. I mean, it's just not really a good quality horse. But I loved her, and it finally worked out, I would say, with me, and Star was her name. So you want to start small. Now, going to the traditional hobbies, if it's, what I mean is, other than the horse, is, let's say if you want to, your hobby, you decide that you do want to fish. Okay, well, you're going to get your fishing pole and, or your rod and reel. Okay, you don't need to go and get the finest reel. And there's a whole lot. If you go to the sporting store, there's a whole lot of reels, and they can range from all types of prices. From the lowest price that you want to pay to, some of them are really big price. Have a big price tag on it. So you want to just kind of start small. And of course, you don't want to go and get a whole lot, like 5 or 10 rods, and you're just beginning this sport. So you want to just kind of, like I said, just kind of start small. I mentioned also when I started sewing, I just couldn't, I wanted to see the finished product. So once I started sewing, I would just sew all night. And when it was time for class the next day, my paper might not have been written or not written the best that it could because I sewed all night. So start out small and put your, small amount of time in it. Don't just go overboard, okay? Then the next thing you want to consider is the time. How much time do you have to put into this particular hobby that you chose? I knew one time when I was dating my husband, he was collecting those sporting trading cards, and he really, really got involved, and it was like consuming him. I mean, he had boxes and boxes of trading cards, and got to the point where we were going to the flea market. He was setting up a little stand selling those things and talking to other people, those avid card traders and collectors. It was really, he was spending a whole lot of time. It was so much time that on Saturdays when I thought he should be with me, he's at the flea market trying to get a certain card. And I was like, hey, wait one second. I thought you were just doing this for fun. But it kind of got out of hand. So you want to make sure that your hobby doesn't get out of hand, because it can get expensive. Not only was it taking time for me, these cards, I know I kind of sound like, yes, I was upset. Okay, I really was. Not only the time, it's the money. He was buying cards. Every time we went to a store, it was like, I got to get these cards. I got to get this card. It's got, he would look at the back of it, and he would say, this has such and such in it, and this should be that. Well, that was money. So make sure that when you start your hobbies that you can afford it, and that you're not, like I said, going overboard. And the other thing is, like I said, don't just jump in, and don't just, just all out. It's got to be A to Z or nothing. Okay, start out little, start out small. For instance, if you decide that you want to bake, then you need to decide that what you're going to bake. I mean, you're going to bake cookies, you're going to bake cakes. What is it? What type of equipment are you going to invest in? Are you going to, because baking in itself, it may sound easy, but baking, there's different types of pans, there are different types of utensils that you have to have. Are you going to get that fancy, I forgot that little mixer thing that they have that's very expensive? Are you going to invest in that? Or are you going to get the handheld little one? So really kind of be careful about what you're going to choose. But I am encouraging you to get a hobby. But these are some of the things that you've got to watch out. But most of all, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. That's what my grandmother always told me. So you want to make sure that you do get a hobby. Okay? So let's go ahead and recap. We know that having a hobby is a good thing for you. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything bad out of it can come if you're disciplined, okay? Hobbies can be good for you because it can help lower your stress level, because now you're doing something for you and you're not thinking about the things that are stressing you. So they can help you decrease the amount of stress in your life. Hobbies, you can meet people. I met some really interesting people with my hobbies. I know when I was riding horses, we would put my uncle and I would put our horses in the horse trailer, and we would take it to different areas, and then we would meet different people who were riding their horses or different types of horses. And I would say, oh, that's a neat horse. What type is that? Oh, that's a such and such horse. That's an Appaloosa or a Welch or whatever the type of horse it was. And I was like, wow, okay. So I was learning something more about horses, and I met some fascinating people. Some of those people are still on my contact list even today. So hobbies are good at that. My husband, for instance, he has a whole lot of hobbies. I mean, always there's someone calling his phone and it's like, oh, that's so-and-so I play tennis with. That's so-and-so I play golf with. That's so-and-so I play a bowl with. So it's good because it gives him some time to do things for him to relax. And also it gives me some time that I can relax. I can have my moment. We all need our moments. And our moments need to be enjoyable. And when we finish, some people, like I said, would say, well, I enjoy just watching television, but I'm urging you that when you do something, it needs to be, something that you're fulfilled with, that makes you feel that you've done something, that you've accomplished something, that you're a better person because you've done it. Okay? You want more for you. That should be your guide, more for you. There's more than just sitting down. There's more than just working 9 to 5. Okay? So you can meet people, you can travel, you'll have new adventures. That's a good thing, new adventures. I knew a person that he and his wife traveled to all the state parks in the United States. That was their hobby. And then I also met a person that they wanted to enter all of these road races that they have, and they had all of these T-shirts. It was something that he and his wife did together. I visit them, and they had like maybe 100 and some T-shirts from all these road races that they were in. So that was their hobby, and they enjoyed it. So hobbies should be enjoyable. It could be something that you do for yourself. It could be something that you do with someone else. But most of all, you're doing something other than just being idle, because that's not good. You got to make sure you find the right one. You want to make sure you find the one that fits your personality, one that doesn't take so much of your time, one that you can afford, okay? And if it's, I know you can find one. You can, as I said, look in your past, what things that you enjoy in your past. When you visit some of the craft stores or some of the hobby stores or sporting stores, what are some of the things you're drawn to? You can find something. I know there's something out there for you. I just know it because there's something out there for me. I'm doing a whole lot of things, and I'm having a really great time doing it. You guys, don't be idle. Do something for yourself. Do something that makes you a better person. And I promise you, you're going to have so much fun. You're going to have so much enjoyment because you're free. You work hard. Now you need to know that saying you work hard, play hard. Play hard, but play hard for you. For you. Remember, I'm Mary J., and I'm just living this life.